We get jungle bans by FPX. We get the Gwen once again. This time around, FPX, instead of getting the Ryze, they want to get the early Jinx and take it away from iBoy.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway I would have, right? This Jinx was able to have so much impact, just doing burst damage with the AoE rockets on top of strong positioning. And if we're going to play the FPX game of run at you on mid lane, you need something like a Jinx, something that's going to outrange. So they're going to end up giving away the Ryze to Strive, who I kind of felt like in the first game, the Ryze pick was a denial pick, right?
Yeah.
So seeing it come into Strive's hands this game, I'm very excited to see what he can do with an oppressive laning phase. And if he has good synergy with Leyan coming out, and maybe we can capitalize on the narrative a bit more that we set up in the pre-game.
Well, I'm curious to see if FPX can match it now because we've got a Galio. Galio for Gori, when he has been the player that has often picked up things like the Ryze, the Corki. Galio as well sits there too. So, Kelsey, I feel like this narrative is trying to copy and match Rare Adam when they try to move in this game.
And I have seen in LPL a fair amount of Ryze, or excuse me, Galio picked into Ryze. Not the biggest fan. Yes, you do get that magic damage shield coming for the Galio, but in terms of the sustained damage and the amount of burst that Ryze does, you still end up losing the laning phase pretty handily, in my opinion. So you're just basically looking for, if Ryze moves, I move, looking to good combo ult in situations there, maybe looking to interrupt the Realm Warp with the taunt, something along those lines. So I guess we'll see how he ends up executing this matchup here, but already opting into a matchup that might be difficult for him if we go for the Ryze setup into the Volibear initiate. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of Volibear, doing 3-camp into mid-gank sounds like a very unfortunate situation for Beichuan to be in. So, or not Beichuan, excuse me, Gori got baited by the name tag, so we'll have to see how that pans out. I
think the most interesting thing for me so far in both these drafts is that we see a lot of dive. Like Ryze, Volibear, Viego, Galio. And it makes sense that for both these teams, we're getting bans like Camille, Malphite, the Nautilus coming through as well. Both compositions that want to add more dive, more engaged through here, being denied through solo lanes and now support.
Yeah, and they're banning the Camille away because classic combo with the Galio.
Yeah. Sometimes,
even if the laning phases are not favorable, you still get that one Camille initiate into the grand entrance from the, excuse me, not grand entrance, but the Galio ultimate comboing off very well, and it works out for you. So seeing that ban taken away, I think if they're banning the Malphite, then maybe FPX are looking for Jayce, trying to pick up a little bit more range so that they can play those basically open space, long range fights better, despite the Galio indicating that they want to capitalize more on melee.
Something as well that could add to it though. We didn't talk about support, so Tahm Kench, that was in game number 1 of our last series, a really big deal for missing. Now added to Hung's inventory, while we also get the Jayce that you're talking about. So yeah, we kind of round this out for FPX, while I tell you what, Cube on a tank would make a lot of sense, but yeah, what other direction could he go? Something like the Cannon, another of his strong picks.
Yeah, and instead they're going to opt for the Graves, which again, you can get the wave in this matchup, but it should be easy for a strong Graves player to, or excuse me, a strong Jayce player to kind of win out in the trades. So looking for that interaction to come up, I think generally speaking, because you're playing Graves into a Jinx, because you're playing Graves into a Jayce in the mid game, you're going to lose out a bit, but we'll see how it goes, because even though they have those champions, you have a fair amount of that. You have the Tahm Kench, you have the Viego, you have the Galio, which is not going to fare as well into the Graves and the Aphelios as the rest of the team composition.
True. Feels like the way to interact is going to be important then, because in this game number 2, for FPX, Beichuan returning back on the Viego, but Gori on something that can move around the map. In game number 1, Gori used the first couple of Realm Warps well, but it didn't really achieve much.
And I'm willing to give Rare Adam a bit more credit to play aside, so having better setups with this Ryze than I think FPX did in the first game, whereas Most of it, though, I'm just going to look at this as a standard. They're going to walk mid, and Ranger's going to win. So this could be a 3-game series from that perspective.
Okay, well, RA winning game number 1. That would mean that FPX, no flips in this game, but no shenanigans to speak of from RA either. Hung versus old team. FPX looking for their first series win against RA in the split, remembering that they only verse each other once, so that narrative can be applied to everyone. Importantly enough, 4 and 5 for both these teams, and yeah, got to rinse and repeat some narratives sometimes because we have a lot of them in the LPL, and we got to make sure you stay informed. Welcome to Summoner's Rift once again. That is a tier start from Strive in a lane that he knows he doesn't have to care about.
Yeah, tier start, playing into the Galio, should still be able to space the Galio, get some autos off, clear the wave pretty evenly, or with an advantage, I should say. So, and then maybe looking to fight topside, because I think that the top lane matchup can be fairly volatile, but who am I kidding? We have iBoy, Yuyanjia versus Lwx. The action is going to happen around the bot lane.
That's true. When you have players like this, you got to expect it. Hung as well. It's Tahm Kench, level 1, still as dangerous as ever. So even though Yuyanjia with the glacial augment here in this game, you're right. I should be down towards the bottom lane, especially when Hung is waiting in a bush, ready to set up for an early level 2. So we'll watch FPX's bottom lane, because once again, they actually picked up early blood in the bottom lane themselves in the 2v2 yet again. So it was nice to see that they continue to remain strong with their identity.
And this is kind of what more I expect from Hung, just standing in this bush, daring Yuyanjia to walk in to see if he'll opt into that trade. But looks like iBoy and Yuyanjia are going to walk fairly evenly together, and Hung is just going to see that.
Like that at the moment for junglers as they start on opposite sides of the map though. Beichuan is spotted on a ward by Rare Adam that was deep put in by Cube, so they know exactly that he's pathing towards bottom side. Another one on the Raptor camp as well, placed down by Strive. So RA's vision control in game number 1, giving them a lot of benefits as well. As for FPX, don't really know where Leyan started. He's pathing up towards the top side, and the Volibear for now a little bit ahead of the camp. So we'll be moving up towards Raptors. So, Kelsey here for RA, what is Leyan's job? Like, where do you kind of hit first?
Yeah, so I think in this case, Leyan wants to look for that mid lane skirmish, right? Okay. I think that's the key here. The Ryze setup gives Gori a little bit of a taste of his own medicine. But
oh no.
As I say that,
Hung. He's dead. He flashes away. iBoy gets him with a Caliber from Severum. And after that flay in the turret, you kind of saw that he stepped too far forward.
Great to see Yuyanjia capitalize and bounce back on that, but Rare Adam going to make an additional play on the top side.
Yep, it's level 3 here for Leyan. I guess if you don't want to skirmish around mid, bring mid around you. Hung's going to move up as well.
Ooh.
Not sure what he took level 2, but the knockup could be massive here as xiaolaohu, who's buying time, teleport burn. And RA are just going to try and take that away from Gori. Hung is going to hit them on the flip side. A 2-man knockup, there it is, but the rest of the team not there. Sky Splitter damage going to be massive. Hung at half HP, Cube moving into position. And now that the support's out of lane, I guess he doesn't lose too much at the bottom side, but at least for now, teleports down for Gori.
Yeah, I mean, just great read from FPX on what they're expecting to happen in the game. They see Ryze and Volibear. They know that that's a very strong 2v2. They're probably going to play for mid-prio and then rotate to the side lane. So they basically seeded the wave contest on mid and had Tahm Kench off of, I'm going to say backing, but dying, and going to the top side. Making sure that Jayce gets the wave, which should be relatively easy to do, right? You win the HP trades, and Graves is a lot of times just auto-push the wave into the tower, so easy to combo and get the wave in one fell swoop. So, not really a play that should be able to be made too easily over that.
Unlucky timing here. Beichuan was going to go all in on the Cube. Leyan was nearby, but as he moved into that brush, about a half second earlier, he was spotted out with Beichuan moving into lane vision. So unlucky there for RA for a bit of a counter gank, but it does send Beichuan away back to his own jungle. Leyan not spotted out for long, but is going to back away himself. So we got a pretty proactive early game here, Kelsey. And once again, it just feels like jungler's kind of battling it out to influence some of these solo laners once more.
And it feels like Leyan's just really trying to force something on this top side, which I think should only happen if xiaolaohu really messes up. And meanwhile, I think Gori heard us talking smack Hysterics, because it looks like he took a favorable trade mid on Strive, just potentially getting the taunt off and executing on that. So he will get a back off first, which is very favorable in this matchup, right? Because the wave, this cannon wave coming in right now is going to be the wave that typically solo laners hit level 6 off of. So a play available when you have a matchup like Ryze versus Galio where both mids have globals on their ultimates.
Yeah, true. I mean, the level 6 mark is going to be huge, you're right. So spot on here is Strive is going to teleport back to the lane. Gori had to burn his towards top side, so it does mean that he's not able to move back, but a couple of minions denied, nothing too big. It'll just even out the wave state that was built up when Strive moved to the top side with Leyan. They now move to Dragon to set up for this burst neutral. Gori's going to stay in lane for now. His ultimate up and available as well, while Cube looking pretty dirtily at xiaolaohu. It's going to be contested though. FPX want to get on him, but Dragon's going to be gone. Leyan with a smite down is early, but at least he gets it. Sky Splitter needs to come in though for the shield as Hero's entrance there to choke. Yuyanjia knocked up as he gets a hook upon dying. Hung won't die here, but look in the top side. xiaolaohu about to die himself, running to his saving grace, and that's going to be one of these brushes. But for now, RA, they're going to lose one member for the cost of the Dragon, and maybe xiaolaohu's laning phase.
And importantly, right, we talked about that wave that mid laners typically hit level 6 on. Strive only had level 5.
That's Ignite down, unsealed spellbook. Strive himself have the flash available, doesn't burn it, and meanwhile on the top side, Bear slap.
Oh no.
Yep.
xiaolaohu not having the greatest game so far. Did manage to wait.
Oh, nice hook.
Manage the wave properly.
He's got the Dark Passage. Hang on, Beichuan's dead. Yuyanjia, maybe he heard us talking smack as well in the past.
Of course. I mean, as I was saying before, shifting gears on the 3 different topics that we were on, but didn't have a chance to hit level 6 on Strive. Obviously, that's not going to necessarily make his combat better because it is a realm warp and doesn't really do additional damage, but the heroic entrance from Galio coming up pretty big, able to create enough space there, and then just the fact that they're close range, Gori has a lot of basically impact in that situation with the taunt available. So I'm not really sure if going for the Dragon was the best play that was available. Looking for the level 6 from Ryze and then trying to play to a sideline, I think would probably be a better use of time for Adam.
Yeah, because that realm warp's still up and available, and you know, speaking of one of those sidelines, we just saw in an action replay that it was Cube who flashed in, xiaolaohu burning his own, only just survives with a nice hammer blow back. As in the top side, look, Leyan and Beichuan hitting it out once again, Cube on the way. But that realm warp used from Strive very aggressively. He doesn't have flash. He burnt it before, but he managed to get out with the movement speed here from the hallowed path. So we'll be able to get in the comfort of his top laner, while RA now have an opportunity to start off this Herald.
So we're at him looking for the Roach Herald start, finally able to capitalize on Strive being able to get out of lane first for a neutral properly, and then Strive, of course, not overstaying and doing damage to the Rift, managing to maintain the wave mid so that Galio can't necessarily join.
Gori's going to move down, and his ultimate not available.
This is a nice trade play.
Yeah, it is. The dive coming through. Beichuan's ulti available. RA need to respect it. Hung goes in for the Abyssal dive himself. Beichuan now, only option going to be onto the Gromp. So, dive negated. You mentioned the Lantern there, Kelsey. Strive's going to try and take that away from him, while Herald was absolutely destroyed top, and Leyan setting Cube up. Cube on this grave. It's funny because xiaolaohu has now been bludgeoned by Graves, I think 2 series in a row.
Yeah, and typically you won't really see that happen for the most part, right? So just not necessarily the greatest game coming out of xiaolaohu at the moment, but you have to think, even though this might be like 2 turrets going over to Cube, who gets the most out of this gold? I would say that if we end up fighting mid 5v5, right, that's going to be the Jinx, because Braves won't necessarily be able to get on
They get this. Yuyanjia just dead. Over to Beichuan it goes. iBoy left by himself under the turret. He's cleared the minion wave though. As flash forward from Hung. The hook doesn't connect from Beichuan. Flash away from iBoy. This is bad. 1v3. iBoy takes 2 with him. Hung runs away. Do not dive. Aphelios with ulti.
Yeah, Aphelios had ulti and blue gun, which means there was basically no wave available. So effectively, they dive Aphelios without a wave as melee champions. They just die instantly to the turret shots. So not quite the best decision that could be made, as we're looking for a play onto Galio now.
I mean, Gori almost dead. He goes back in with the Justice Punch as the flash away. A bit of a mistake, and he pays for it almost with his life. Replay time, Kelsey, because this was just sick from iBoy.
Yeah, iBoy gets the wave very quickly, and that's really important here, right? Because I was thinking, okay, Hong can take like 2 or 3 turret shots effectively with the gray health, and then everything else is, wow, just look at having the red and blue combo is really effective versus a dive, because not only are you getting some sustain off, you have the AoE coming from it as well. So I don't know, maybe they wanted to check that a little bit before they committed to diving him.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, giving him credit, nice flash away from the ulti of Beichuan, and you know, the hook from Beichuan as well, tied it away, nice footsteps, but or feet work I should say. iBoy, because of that dive though, it all goes wrong for FPX. 5 kills to 2, 2k gold lead at 11 minutes in the game. iBoy is now the one you should watch out for. Moments before we saw that dive, you were saying all gold's going on to Lwx. You knew who you'd prefer in a 5v5. Well, as Beichuan flashes forward, I have to say, FPX, what are you doing? Thundering blow comes down. Leyan with the Stormbringer, and on the other side, Strive having a great time against Gori. This Galio blocking him out, but Strive is running him down. FPX again, another dive failed, and Dragon looks like it could just be Leyan.
Yeah, FPX really trying to force this dive onto the Aphelios, trying to accelerate Lwx as much as possible, and Lwx is more or less the win condition, especially since the Jayce lane is not panning out as much at all. Brave's already with the whole breaker. So yeah, I think they're really just trying to make sure that Lwx has the gold available to carry in these front-to-back team fights. And it's backfiring with the amount of dive that they have versus iBoy's Aphelios. And
look at the rest of the map. I mean, they're committing so much into it. We've got a whole break of Graves who picked up almost 2 turrets in the top side. Gori now with the CS lead. Excuse me, Strive on the rise here, if only just. And, you know, Strive's ultis have been better so far. Gori with 1 great hero's entrance, but apart from that, now stuck a little bit in this lane, and it doesn't feel too good to talk about RA right now. xiaolaohu going for the 1v1, but remember, Hullbreaker, Graves, and Leyan is nearby, so looks like xiaolaohu's going to keep that up. And Kelsey here at 13 minutes. 2k gold lead still exists. There's 2 dragons on RA. This is looking like a pretty good second game.
Yeah, looking like a pretty strong second game from Rare Adam. However, I can't completely count out FPX at this point.
Or Yuyanjia. You can't count out Yuyanjia, that's for sure. Beichuan with reset onto iBoy. Hook is not going to connect.
Oh.
And he's out. Okay, well, Yuyanjia falling into similar patterns, it seems.
Yeah, just getting picked out, trying to look for vision before the wave. Happens every once in a while, but I would say in general, even if that pick hadn't happened, can't completely count out FPX, because they will do very well on these midway contests, right? Which, I mean, I would say it's a little bit of a false confirmation there to say that was a demonstration of that, but generally speaking, you can envision how that would work out, considering the Tahm Kench, how much space he can create, the long range for the Jinx, even Jayce being this far down, close to completing the Mirror Mana. Not terribly close, but close enough. We'll still be able to get a lot of poke off versus a lot of these squishy targets, because even with tank items, Volibear doesn't become that resistant to.
That's true. I mean, enough to consider them a threat. I like is, you know, around these next couple of objectives, we'll see Leyan going in for xiaolaohu, but Also just wants to continue denying away these creeps right on into the Gromp. Yuyanjia's there though. He flashes away. And straight away, scared of the Thresh as it's not a Gravitum on iBoy, so Leyan can't go closer. But that's a tier 2 turret already down in the top side. Second Herald's going to be spawning in 3 seconds. Strive has immense wave clear in the mid lane. And I'd be scared if FPX want to challenge this because still, you talk about the damage here, Kelsey, but RA are obviously in control.
And RA also, not just the Rift Herald, but Cube is threatening his 3rd turret of the game, right? Trying to pick up that gold. Sensing that there might be a counter flank or a trade happening, considering that they're taking Rift Herald, so try to get out of that one.
Beichuan think he's going to walk into him. He might be right. It's level 11 versus level 9. Though remember, hold breaker. And Beichuan's like, okay, all right. Well, xiaolaohu didn't want a piece of that, so he just backs away. And that's a trade for the Rift Herald. Strive picked that one up. And with the way the game's going, gold keeps stretching out. 3,000 now, 15, 16 minutes into the game. Next Dragon in a minute 30 as well, and that Herald will be there to displace the members of FPX.
And I don't know if xiaolaohu quite wants to take this, but he does get a nice little trade-off there, considering that Cube was effectively CCing himself by auto-attacking the wave, as we like to say. So basically, in that particular situation, just a small, cute little trade there, and does have to back out at this point, just because RA are ahead on the map everywhere, right?
Absolutely everywhere. iBoy taking a small trade, walks up to Lwx, confidence in Yuyanjia as 3 versus 2 will be here, but look, Leyan, enemy jungle. He's very deep, and RA have full control of vision down there as well, so you can see the map littered red as TP's burnt in the face of Cube to get ready for this next Dragon. This will be Soul Point, but in 30 seconds. That's how long FPX have to wait as RA in the perfect position to sandwich on anyone in River.
Yeah, and they're basically just going to clear these wards out. If FPX try to walk in, it should be fairly easy for RA to drop this Rift Herald and then force them to answer and then retake the vision.
Yuyanjia just setting up for a hook in the meantime, though. Herald's going to get the charge here. Won't take down the turret, but iBoy willing to step up. Smite helps secure it down. Now for Lwx, look at the poke damage coming through. You mentioned xiaolaohu and his impact he's going to have. Already we're seeing it as a hook. Doesn't connect. Once again, Cube runs in, but he's a hull breaker. Graves with a mortal shield bow. Feels like 1.5 items as he gets out with the collateral damage. But for RA, trying to poke them down hasn't worked. Look at this. Cube has to go back, get some healing, while the rest of RA look to keep them at arm's length. But the poke is massive. iBoy, though, sets it up with an ulti. Gravitum comes through, though. It is not the Infernum, and the poke continues to be threatening. But for FPX, they're not going to risk it. Here comes the rocket, and Leyan dodges it, gets the smite down. Soul Point now for Rare Adam.
I think at this point, it's just one of those situations where Rare Adam drop the Rift Herald. Very easy for them to then walk in, make it so that FPX can't control the river vision for free. They have to show on the wave to deal with the Rift Herald, and then really easy Dragon from that point.
Well, come back up the Dragon. Cube's actually just going to walk into Beichuan. Good avoiding of the poke. It's Hullbreaker again. Getting its money worth at this point. Cube is up 45 CS, by the way, and yeah, it won't take less than 3 people, apparently, to stop this Graves. So even after we come back, even after FPX show us some of their hope in game number 2, they still can't deal with Cube. And that's a really good sign, considering that, you know, Cube has rarely had games where he is the big bad carry.
Oh, yeah, I would say that Cube is probably the most unexpected improvement that I've seen on this Rare Adam roster. Yeah. I was still a little bit skeptical, even after the RNG series, because he was playing Gwen. Gwen's kind of a broken champion, and then I would say that Finn has a tendency to opt into that Jax matchup and look for those very aggressive all-ins that Jax likes to go for. Yeah. And then it doesn't always pan out depending on what side of the lane you're on. So I think I was still a little bit cold on Cube, but definitely showing up versus
iBoy having to flash away. Hang on, Leyan ulting out. There's the ultimate for iBoy. Now, he had Yuyanjia with him, but again, iBoy, always a bit of a suspect in game.
Yeah, very willing to position far forward. That's why I always say, you know, if I'm playing with iBoy, I'm going to prioritize something like the Tahm Kench, like the Thresh. So, does have that for him in this series.
Okay, well now they're going to try and Q, but Leyan's there as well, getting damage on xiaolaohu. He might not even need Leyan. Honestly, Beichuan's dead. I feel like Leyan comes in as moral support, as Strive on top of this Jayce is looking for another kill, and just as RA make me doubt with their AD carry, the rest of them bring it all back.
Yep, and then crucially, right, they took pressure off of the mid wave, so it's easy for iBoy to get that in. Just stay up in tempo on the map overall, and for them to start controlling the vision thoroughly in this bot side. So now that they have that, they're gonna recall, push out top, retake the Baron vision there, and still have a little bit of time before Dragon.
Oh no, on a ward, flashes away Hung. Maybe a bit of a ruse here as Gori's rooted up again by Strive. And RA reacting quite nicely to that little play there, remembering they have Soul Point on the board. A minute 55 until Ocean Dragon comes through. Every single play makes it harder for that Ocean Soul to be denied by FPX. As we look again, Cube just takes no damage when he's by himself.
Yep. Oh, and then they have to pull those members down to the bot side, which lets iBoy contest the midway for free. So that's something that you can see on the mini-map as Strive ports in and takes down another member of FPX.
So, 4 bounties now exist on RA. Game 2, looking pretty confident here. But remember, in LPL Arnold's, or LPL McDonald, hang on, that's too close to the trademark, we flip here. And in game number 1, we didn't see as many flips. But realistically, moving for Soul, let's see how hard RA commits. Setup's important, vision control's important. FPX, a big steal would be an objective bounty as well. So worth noting that this game's not over yet as Beichuan going a little bit deep, and he has been the victim right now for FPX in this game.
Yeah, and the game's not over, right? But RA definitely look more composed, more experienced on the map in the mid-game. Plus, having the lead that they have that continues to extend as they deny waves into turrets, they threaten dives. They're just keeping the control going. And that's very nice, especially when you're choking your opponent out of farm, right? A lot of the gold isn't necessarily even coming from kills, of course. It's coming from structures, it's coming from jungle camps, it's coming from all sorts of other advantages. So definitely feeling the pressure on the FX side. If it looks like they're flipping, if it looks like they're inting, it's because they need to make something happen, and if they don't, they're probably just going to get choked out.
Relies on Beichuan feels here as he goes to engage on top of Leyan, but ulti, they pivot backwards, and now they've got the poke. This jungler the target, but for FPX, now in a choke as Yuyanjia gets the hook for Beichuan with a reset. Meanwhile, you're right, Cube decides, hey, if we're going to lose the dragon, I'm just going to take the pathway into the game, and Strive runs back in. That's a Tank Ryze. Another good hook here is into the enemy jungle. They don't have a smite to contest in this objective bounty, but for FPX, look at their base. They're teleporting back. A Nexus turret dropping. And RA cleaning up the rest of the fight. FPX are just losing the game. Cube with Hullbreaker has literally run it in. Gori can't stop him alone. He flushes away in front of the open Nexus. Kelsey, he won't do it today, but he's done enough damage as Lwx has just been crippled by FPX being separated. RA with a huge 5-head play to almost end the game.
Yeah, also note, 2 Unleashed teleports available, and he dropped a ward in the base, so for sure FPX are going to want to sweep that. It looks like they already have, but RA going to start the Baron regardless, so I think that at this point we're kind of talking about the nail going into the coffin for FPX. The rage advantages aren't really going to pan out when you're just playing side lanes as well as RA at the moment.
Yeah, it's played stuff. It's hilarious to watch, and all around, just a great experience to see RA, you know, do FPX like this. In game 2, we're seeing what is practically, it's not nice from Hung to get the blue buff, but it's a small win at this point.
Okay.
When FPX, look, their entire top side is broken. Their Nexus exposed. Yuyanjia wants a hook onto Beichuan. He's not going to find it, unfortunately. iBoy was in position to close in, so it's now just going to be the Baron play, and Kelsey in a turret in the mid side. Bottom side only has a tier 3, but Cube is running down at this Graves, who is close to Flame Horizoning, who has 3.5 items in his inventory.
Yeah, when I say side lanes, I mean side lane. Yep. Because it's effectively just Cube rotating around the map, drawing pressure as the rest of Rare Atom groups and sieges on their end, or threatens dives on their end. So definitely a lot of good just map play in general coming out from Cube, even more than anything else that he's bringing to the table.
I mean, it's good to see. Again, we talk about Cube not being focused on the RA draft, or at least the RA team quite a lot of the time, but yeah, Cube carrying this game quite literally as Strive realm warps towards the mid lane, or at least, excuse me, he just moved there. And the rest of RA pivoting between this mid and bottom lane. Top lane needs to be responded to. Lwx continues hovering around, taking down the super minions, while the rest of the base is going to be destroyed. Leyan on top of Beichuan. He's going to find the stun. Yuyanjia with the hook. Again, short as Cube runs forward. Look at this Grave. iBoy flashing and doing the exact same thing. Nice, Leyan wants to end it at the hero's entrance. It's not exactly that. Cube this game has acted exactly like we wanted to see. As Beichuan, it might not matter. Realm warp in. Yuyanjia on top of Beichuan. They're going to try, but Cube is in front of the Nexus, and he wants to make the game his own. 2-0 against FPX. Rare Atom came to play, and Cube came to PvE.
I'm just really loving seeing these teams punch above their weight and improve so much in a short amount of time. Hysterics, Rare Atom showing dimensions that I did not expect from them as they continue their win streak. I remember last year in spring,